Hello and welcome to the session in which we will discuss earnings per share as part of our series discussing the income statement. The first thing I would like to let you know is this topic, earnings per share or EPS, is covered much more in depth in another chapter. So this is just an introduction, a basic introduction, and the reason we need to cover earnings per share is there's two reasons actually. One is earnings per share is listed on the face of the income statement. Two, since we discussed discontinued operation in the prior session, earnings per share is also expressed as part of that discontinued operation figures. So it's very important to cover this topic for now, just to kind of introduce ourselves to it. But earnings per share is a major challenging topic that we'll have to deal with later on. So if you see this recording is short, which will be very short, don't think that this is all you have to know about earnings per share. Although earnings per share is covered briefly either chapter 3 or chapter 4, intermediate accounting, there's a one whole chapter devoted for earnings per share because it's really challenging. And earnings per share is an important indicator in the real world. So for example, if you watch CNBC, if you read the Wall Street Journal, if you follow Bloomberg, Wall Street, they always look at every company to determine for every quarter, what's their earnings per share? How much did they earn? How much did you earn earnings per share? Because when you're looking at two companies, your concern is, as a shareholder, how much did I earn for each share? Let's assume we have company A and company B. Company A earned $1 million. Company B earned $100 million. If I ask you, would you like one share of company A, or would you like one share of company B? Well, for now, it's $1 million. What if I told you company A, they have in total 1 million shares, and company B, they have in total 200 million shares. Now, here's what's going to happen. We're going to take the earnings, which is 1 million and 100 million. If I take for company A, 1 million in earnings divided by 1 million in shares, for company A, I am earning $1 per share. If I do the same thing for company B, yes, the company earned 100 million, 10 times that of company A. However, I have to share this earning with 200 other million shareholders, or 200 million shares. Therefore, my earnings per share for company B is 50 cents. Therefore, just given this limited information, if you want to give me a stock of company A or company B, I would say give me a stock of company A, because company A stock earns on average $1 per share. Now, you're not going to get this dollar, but not paid. You won't get paid. This is when they pay it in dividend. But in theory, that's how much you are earning per share. Now, earnings per share is very important that it must be disclosed on the face of the income statement, and there's a whole section in the notes explaining the computation for earnings per share. Now, for the purpose of today, of this session, we assume we have a simple capital structure, and we're going to talk more about simple capital structure later on, because if it's not a simple capital structure, the computation will be much more involved. So simply put, earnings per share is computed as net income, what the company earned, minus any preferred dividend. Now, again, for now, don't worry what a preferred dividend are, but preferred dividend is a form of dividend, is form of the profit that's distributed to certain shareholders. That's all what you need to know now. So we have to deduct certain amount to preferred dividend. So before you could compute if we go back to company A and company B, and what I did at company A and company B, we have 0 preferred dividend because we don't have a preferred shareholders, to simplify the process. But if you have a preferred shareholders, they get their money first. Therefore, we deduct their share of the earnings before we distribute it to the common shareholders or common stock. Then we'll divide by something called the weighted average of common shares outstanding. Now, for this session, this number is giving. But don't worry, later on, you have to compute this number, the weighted average number of shares outstanding. So let's take a look at a simple example to see how we compute earnings per share. Adam Inc. reports $500,000. It declares and paid dividend of 100,000. So, okay, the weighted average number of shares is 100,000. So we're going to take, what's earnings per share? We're going to take the earnings, $500,000. However, we have to take out of the earning 100,000 and give it to those preferred. They have a preferential treatment, 100,000. What's left is 400,000 in the numerator, in the denominator, we have 100,000 shares. 400,000 divided by 100,000, you are earning $4 per share. Is this a good number, $4 per share? Well, it depends. What did you earn in the prior quarter? What did you earn last year? What are your competitors earning? Obviously, the higher, the better. And also earnings per share, we will learn later on, and you would learn much more about this ratio when you take your corporate finance. It's the main driver of the stock price. And that's why when I started, I said Wall Street analysts, investors, they look at earnings per share as the base for making investment decisions. That's what really, frankly, that's what drives the stock price, earnings per share. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, farhatlectures.com. Farhat Accounting Lectures is a supplemental educational tool that's going to help you with your CPA exam preparation as well as your accounting courses. My CPA material is aligned with your CPA review course such as Becker, Roger, Wiley, Gleam, Miles. My accounting courses are aligned with your accounting courses, broken down by chapter and topics. My resources consist of lectures, multiple choice questions, true-false questions, as well as exercises. Go ahead, start your free trial today. Let's take a look at this example to see how earnings per share is presented on the financial statement. Now, this earnings per share is presented on the face of the financial statements. Obviously, additional information will also be presented in the notes of the financial statements. So looking at Adam Company, Adam Inc., and this is a partial income statement starting from income from continuing operation, $250,000. Then this company has a discontinued operation. They discontinued their healthcare division. For that year, they operated the healthcare division for a period of time, then they sold it. So we have two sections, operation and disposal. And this is what usually happens in the year a discontinued operation is disposed of. Now, if you don't know what a discontinued operation is, you got to go to the discontinued operation. I'm going to assume you know what discontinued operation. So they operated the healthcare division that particular year, and they had an income of $59,250. Notice this is presented net of tax. How much tax did they pay? $15,750. In other words, the net income for this division was $75,000. We're going to assume 21% taxes. The company paid in taxes $15,750. If we take $75,000 minus $15,750, we come up to net of tax $59,250. Another way to compute this is taking $75,000 multiplied by 1 minus the tax rate. We're going to assume the tax rate is 21%, which is 75,000 times 0.79. What's left is $59,250. I'm showing you this because the concept net of tax is important, and this is why I wanted to show you this computation in more than one method. Therefore, the division made $75,000 in income. We had to pay taxes. Net of tax, it's $59,250, and we list this separately because what are we doing with the healthcare division? We are disposing of it. Matter of fact, we dispose of it this particular year, and as a result, we incurred a loss net of tax $79,000. Now let's work about what net of tax is. Actually, the loss was $100,000. The loss was $100,000. Then what they did is, because of the loss is $100,000, this loss saved them 21%, which is their tax rate, 21%. That's what we are assuming. Therefore, if the loss was negative $100,000 plus the tax saving of 21%, the loss net of saving is $79,000. So here the tax savings reduces the loss. Therefore, the loss was $100,000 initially, net of $21,000 of taxes, $79,000. Another way to compute this is to take $100,000. Obviously, it's a loss, a negative, times 1 minus 0.21, 21% of tax rate, equal to negative $79,000, which is the loss net of tax. I just want to show you this one more time to know how to compute net of tax. When we say net of tax, we need to be familiar with this concept. Now we net those out. We come up with negative $19,750 250 income from operation minus the discontinued operation equal to net income of 230,250. That's fine. I hope this should be everything that I mentioned, should be a review. Now we're going to assume we have 100,000 shares outstanding for the whole period. And this is a simple example. I'm simplifying things because this is not how we compute earnings per share. There is much more involved, which is especially the denominator. So we're going to take 250,000 divided by 100,000, and we're going to come up to 2.5. So $2.50 is EPS for income from continuing operation. Now we'll do the same thing for income from discontinued operation. We'll take 59,250 divided by 100,000, and I'm rounding to 59 cents. Negative 79,000 divided by 100,000, negative 0.79. Our EPS, we net them out, 250 plus 59 minus 79, $2.30. Now, as an investor in this company, what you are really concerned with is the 250. Ignore when you're evaluating the company, you're always evaluating the company when you invest for future purposes. When you invest toward the future. In other words, the discontinued operation, not really relevant for us, whether we had a loss or a gain. All what we know is this company is getting out of this business. We have to take a look at their earnings per share from their continuing operation. And this is the most important figure, or it should be the most important figure for analysts, for investors, for people who are trying to evaluate the company. Now, what you will do, how would you use earnings per share? Remember, I talked about the importance of EPS when it comes to Wall Street. Now, what they would do on Wall Street, they will take this earnings per share and assuming this is their future earnings per share without any growth. Okay, if that's the case, one way to value the stock is you'll take 250 times what we called a multiple. Now, what is that multiple? This becomes, this is the guessing part. What's the multiple? The multiple based on the potential growth of this company. If this company has a lot of growth, in other words, the future looking bright, they're going to have a lot of room to expand, a lot of room to increase their sales, the multiple would be higher. But to make it simple, if we assume the multiple is 20, we multiply this by 20, and we figure out the stock price of this company. Now, where did I come up with that number 20? I just came up with it. I just came up with it. How? Maybe similar companies in this industry are trading at a multiple of 20. Therefore, the stock price is 50. Now, if this company has more potential, you multiply it by 25. If it has less potential, you multiply it by 10. If you multiply it by 10, the stock price should be 25. And this is why the stock price go up and down constantly, because investors and analysts are taking earnings per share and multiply it by a multiple that no one agrees on that multiple. Each one put a different multiple for this company. Who's right? Well, if you think the stock is worth 50 and it's trading at 50, you are right. The market is telling you are right. But something could happen, and what could happen? Your earnings could go down. So let's assume your earnings go down to $2, and let's assume you still think the multiple is 20. The stock should drop down to 40. Should. Whether it's going to happen or not, I don't know. Or you're earning $2.50 and suddenly the company have more sales and start to earn $4. If you assume EPS should be 4 and the multiple is 20, the price should be $80. Earnings could go up and the multiple could go up and the price could be even much higher. So this is how EPS is used in the real world. Again, we're going to have a whole chapter about earnings per share. Don't worry about this. This is just an introduction, just scratching the surface. For example, this number here, 100,000, we'll have few sessions on how to compute this. This is given to you. It's simple, but that's not the case. And we're going to have basic earnings per share, diluted earnings per share, many topics to think about. This is just the beginning. What do you want to do now? You want to go to Farhat Lectures, look at additional resources, multiple choice, true, false exercises. That's going to help you whether you are studying for your accounting courses, CPA exam, CMA exam, any other accounting or professional certification. Farhat is always here to help. Invest in yourself. Good luck, study hard, and of course, stay safe.